Durbania. I'm Durbin.
I'm Nathan.
And we are going to spoiler talk the movie Split. And it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Yes.
So that means as we spoiler talk this, we're going to blow the twist. So if you don't want that blown, look away. But if you want it blown, or you've already seen the movie, we are going forward starting now. Okay, you have been warned. So Nathan, what are your overall thoughts of this movie?
Well, that's a hard thing to explain because my emotions completely betrayed me because of the twist.
Yeah.
But I was rooting all the way for the girls. I was wondering how they were going to morph the movie, how they were going to escape, what was going to happen if they were going to escape.
Yeah.
Which at the end, I didn't think they were going to escape. And then when they escape...
Yeah. Well, I kind of had the same thing because it's like you're rooting for the girls, and I realized there's a certain point when I got into this movie where it's just like, what is going to happen? How is this story going to resolve itself? I mean, each of the girls try to make an escape, so each girl gets separated from the other as the movie goes on, so each girl is locked in their own separate room, and it's just like, are they going to live? Are they going to die? Like, there's that point where I was just wondering, and I just didn't know, like, is there going to be a twist? Because The Visit didn't have that big of a twist. I mean, you saw that one coming a mile away. His movie before that had no twist, so it's like, okay, is there going to be a twist or not? What's going to happen with this?
Right.
Yeah.
It was just complete guesswork. The whole movie was guessing, and usually my wife and I are pretty good at guessing the plot or coming very close to the plot. And this one, I would guess the plot, and then it would completely, immediately shatter my plot theory.
Yeah. What was one plot that you guessed and then how it got shattered?
Well, I thought that the old woman was going to come, the psychiatrist.
Yes.
I thought she was going to show up, and that she somehow was going to be involved, knowing that this was happening, knowing that the girls
that would have been
abducted.
Fascinating if she was in on it.
And so when she gets there, and then she starts noticing some things, and then she goes to the bathroom and sees the girl, unlocks the one door.
And sees the
And
girl
of course,
in there.
she wears the loudest shoes possible to walk on a concrete floor.
That was really irritating. Yeah.
And then she died, and she was irrelevant.
Yes. Other than she knew how to call Kevin, the original personality, forward and wrote it down so that Anna Taylor-Joy, who played that lead girl, can have that info and kind of call out the original personality.
Right.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, it's kind of interesting following the plight of these three girls because everything hinges on them, but I felt from the beginning the other two girls were a little irrelevant. Like, I just felt that from the beginning, that Anna Taylor-Joy, that somehow this whole story centered around her, and it didn't even matter what happened to the other girls. And that was kind of a negative to me, because it was a positive in that I was really attached to Anna Taylor-Joy, but it was a negative in that I should have been attached to the other two, but I knew from the beginning they were irrelevant.
Right. Well, I think that was kind of the writer's intention, was that these two were kind of the prima donnas of their school, and they were the popular, and this was the unpopular, and they had to invite. She was only a part of the crowd because she didn't want to invite everybody but her from her class.
I suppose that's nice in a way.
In a way, but then it's when you know that you're openly rejected and you're only invited to not be rejected. Yeah. Kind of makes the rejection a little bit worse.
It kind of does. Yeah. Yeah. I guess, as of now I'm thinking about it, the only relevance the other two girls had was they were innocent and protected, and that was kind of the point of this 24th personality, the Beast, that he fed on their innocence because he thought brokenness is where strength comes from, and the next level of humanity comes from being broken and not being innocent and sheltered, which sounded very demonic to me. It's like that is such a
heavy.
Yeah, it was so heavy and so deep. That's a reading way too much into one day. But so he wanted to destroy innocence because he felt the shattering. So I think that was the important thing, is that they were food. But I felt that from the beginning. It's like these two are nothing more than food, and the one to watch is Anna Taylor-Joy, which is good because she did a good job acting wise, and so I was in on it. But I also wanted to be more attached and more heartbroken when the Beast ate the other two girls alive.
Right.
And he ate them alive.
And then having watched, like Shutter Island and these other type movies that sort of were filmed along the same lines, when it came to almost the end of the movie, and I thought that she was going to be in an asylum in a padded room
Oh,
and
yeah.
when the beast came after her and she had the shotgun, that it was representing in her mind her uncle, and that all these other characters were just a facade in this dream world that she's made up to overcome all the horror.
Now that would have been an interesting twist if she was the one with all the personalities dealing with the abuse of her uncle.
Right.
Which was something they did a lot in this movie, where you found out, like through flashbacks while she was captured, that the uncle was abusing her, and a very abusive, disgusting guy.
Right, right.
And I had a feeling, especially when she was learning to hunt from her dad, and he was teaching her how to shoot and how to follow animals, and you know the 24th personality is the beast.
Right.
I kind of made a connection there. Something's gonna happen with a shotgun. It's like there were a few things that were obvious, and you're like, oh, that's a clue. Must remember that.
Right. And then coming up towards the end of the movie, she holds up the shotgun. It's like, this is her mind.
Yeah.
And these are her characters.
Yes.
But they shattered that.
Yeah.
Right after I thought that.
Speaking of shattering that, James McAvoy, and I said this in my spoiler free, he was the single greatest part of this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he made a great 9-year-old.
My name's Hedwig. I have red socks.
Yes, he did. And it was amazing to me, like, you know, in the trailer, you kind of just think, oh, that's cute. Hedwig, little 9-year-old, probably named after the Harry Potter owl, you know. And, but then in the movie, he's such a little troublemaker.
Right.
Like,
well, he's the sadistic one that's has the power over the head.
He keeps the innocent personalities in the shadows.
Right.
And lets Dennis and Patricia, the mean ones who want to call up the beast, come to the light.
Right.
Which was such an interesting thing. It's like how... But that was I guess that's a positive, because it's interesting to see how powerful this 9-year-old personality was. But what was the negative was... And tell me if you saw this and I didn't see it. How did the 9-year-old keep the other ones seated while allowing the two mean ones to come to the light?
I think child mindsets are so set.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was such a strong personality because it's a 9-year-old and likes to play, likes to kind of take control of his toys, of his things, and of course has his infatuation with Kanye West. And
that was a great scene where he wanted to show the girl how he could dance to Kanye West.
Right. But I think that's it. Just childhood, and there's no formed reality around a child's mind, and so he can just kind of let his imagination go and take over and control.
Which was something I really liked about this movie, was talking about the power of belief, how each personality had a belief, and that belief physically affected the body. Like one of the personalities had diabetes, so when that personality was in the light, the body had diabetes, needed the insulin, but when any other personality was in the light, there was no diabetes. When the beast took over, it really did develop skin as tough as a rhino, incredible strength, and Spider-Man wall climbing abilities. And it's like, and you know,
and veins protruding out.
Yes, but I found that to be such an interesting idea to explore in this movie. The idea of the power of belief. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh no, that's absolutely the power of belief, and you can accomplish what you dream. You can accomplish what you visualize. You become what you set yourself up to be, whether you believe you can or you think you can or can't. You're right.
Yeah, and I agree with you, because I mean, I've always thought that, you know, it's just how much belief goes into effect in our lives, you know. And it's amazing to see that illustrated in this movie, that what each personality believed, it had the ability to alter their body chemistry.
Right.
And so what you're saying about the 9-year-old, I didn't think about that, because I don't feel like the movie really explained that, but that does make sense, that the 9-year-old having the belief system that he had, and in a sense so innocent, so informed, yet so powerful, can hold those other personalities in the dark to let the wicked ones come forward.
So Anna Taylor-Joy, her character was the only character that was calm and trying to resolve how this is going to manifest, like a way out is going to manifest. Yeah. Where the other two are kind of going on their almost psychotic breaks and nervous and don't know what to do and just trying to make things happen, and then they're the ones that get separated. Yeah. And of course they're the ones that die. Yeah. And it's interesting because that is something that the Beast was talking about, that they, and Patricia and Dennis and the other personalities, that these other girls were unbroken and they were sheltered and they weren't ready for that kind of evil. But then you have Anna Taylor-Joy, her character, being abused by her uncle for almost the entirety of her childhood and her life. It's like, in a sense, her mind was prepared for this,
And so this didn't, I mean, you could tell she was freaked out, she was scared, but she's been in that kind of situation enough. Her innocence is gone.
Right.
And so she was able to think through, because she's used to thinking through these kind of scary, fearful, hurtful situations. And so the beast was able to eat and devour the others, but he stopped with her because the beast had the belief system that that brokenness was holiness.
Right.
And so when he saw all the scars on her body and on her stomach and from all those years of abuse, he just yelled, "Rejoice!" Because, she's growing to that next level. Right. And so he let her live. And that was so interesting.
It was interesting. And then, that she was a cutter. That she was abusive to her body because her belief system was that she was trash. She was unclean. She was the broken in her mindset.
And it's interesting because in a way you could see that these two characters, James McAvoy and Anna Taylor-Joy, kind of understood each other because she was broken from her years of abuse. And James McAvoy's character was broken from his years of abuse from his mother. Only the way he coped with it is he shattered into all these different personalities.
Right.
And while she is shattered inside, she didn't shatter into those other personalities, but she shattered into her own ways of hiding and coping.
Well, that was a thing that I was thinking about, and I wondered if because she recognized the dual personalities.
Yeah.
Immediately.
She did. Yeah.
Like it didn't freak her out that he
and
as
she
a
understood
woman
how to
came
talk to him.
in.
Yeah, she understood.
Right. So I half wonder if she did have, like when she purposely went to detention to be alone, if it wasn't to have conversations with her other selves.
And I didn't think about it that way, but that's kind of interesting, or at least how we all have that inner dialogue, and so maybe she kind of had something in her that was not as extreme as his thing, but yeah. And the other thing that was interesting, and it's funny because the doctor, the female psychiatrist doctor lady, was just talking about how she thinks this brokenness means that they're more powerful. These are people on the next level. We keep looking at them as hurt victims, but if we can nurture them correctly and help them past these destructive tendencies, maybe there's something we could learn from these people with multiple identities and associative disorder or whatever all that stuff was called, because the fact that his belief could alter his body chemistry in all those different ways. And what's really funny is I went, wow, it sounds like she's describing a superpower. If only M. Night Shyamalan had written this as a sequel to Unbreakable, that was literally my thought process. And I was like, that would have been a cool villain for Bruce Willis to face. And I was like, man, that would have been cool, but immediately let it go because of course that's not what's going to happen here.
Right.
And so I was but I thought that immediately because I just thought that was an interesting way of looking at it and her approach to dealing with it.
Yeah, and I think that also was what led up to the Beast.
Yeah.
Because she allowed these other strong personalities without calling out the original boy. Yeah. The original child. So she allowed for years. So when the original boy manifests, it's now 6 years past that date.
Yeah.
So for 6 years she allowed the real boy, Kevin, to be dormant while these other personalities became forceful and carried on their own persona and became their own people, which then led to the Beast. So her denial of the original, I think she's the one that set up Kevin or Dennis or Patricia.
Which is interesting because all these personalities formed to protect Kevin, to protect him from the abuse, to protect him from the pain, to shelter him, to be protective forces. And Dennis and Patricia, the two mean ones, they were mean because they were trying to be super protective of Kevin. Right. But you're right. These other personalities got exercised. They got to develop wills of their own. Right. Rather than the therapist doing what the therapist should have been doing, and that is working with the original person and personality to bring strength to that person. Right. Instead, she let strength come to the personalities, which let the Beast come out.
Right. Because it sounds like Kevin would have been a great harnesser of the power of the Beast.
Yes.
In a sense.
Yeah. So as you could tell from our discussion here, there's a lot of things in the writing and the storytelling that was very fascinating to us. So I feel like M. Night Shyamalan, in terms of writing like that and the overarching story, it was like a return to M. Night Shyamalan form. And I just kind of had fun with that, where I started to get disappointed. So in the end, Anna Taylor-Joy shoots the Beast several times with a shotgun, and he's fine. Point blank. And the skin is ripped, but the muscle is unbroken, and no organs are harmed, and the guy is fine. Which is just amazing in itself.
And then the skin is repaired, minutes later.
And then she stays in this cage, and this guy finds her. We find out she's being kept at the zoo. The police come, and then her uncle comes to get her, who's been abusing her all her life. And her dad had died. Her uncle's become her legal guardian. Now, here's where, at first, this was very unsatisfactory to me. Because he got away. The other 2 girls are dead, who I really wasn't super attached to anyway. And Anna never, at least that we saw on screen, told the cop her uncle was an abuser. Now, I think it was leading to the fact she was going to. But I started to get very disappointed here. Because all of that was unresolved. What were your thoughts when it was there?
I thought the same thing. I thought that as she was staring at the cop and the cop was staring back at her, that I do believe that a connection was made through the eyes.
Yeah.
That the cop realized that this was not a real guardian.
Yeah.
That this was a predator coming to pick up his prey.
Yes, after she'd already been the prey of this other guy for so long.
But like you said, they don't... After the scene cuts away, nothing else.
Yeah.
Then when the movie ends, you get nothing. Did she go back with the uncle? Was there a confrontation with the uncle?
Yeah.
What happened?
And even when we get this fantastic twist that we're about to dive into, which changed my entire opinion of this movie in the drop of a hat, we still have her character arc unresolved to me.
Yes.
I feel like she was stronger by the end of this movie, but was that stronger in a good way, or did she buy into the Beast's philosophy that brokenness made her better? Her character was unresolved.
I think she's a good
version of him.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think she becomes a good version.
So hopefully there will be another movie where we see the resolving of her character arc, because that is my biggest negative, is that unresolved issue. But now let's get into this. This is the biggest spoiler right now, and in this moment my mind was blown. And my mediocre opinion of this movie became a fantastic opinion of this movie.
Right.
So they call James McAvoy the Horde, because that's what they called all the different personalities in him. So if the news report comes out that the Horde ate these girls alive and all this crazy stuff.
Right.
So James McAvoy is now talking in the mirror between Dennis, bad personality number 1, and Patricia, bad personality number 2. Don't care about that conversation.
Right.
What was really interesting to me was a certain musical score started to play in the background. And I remember turning to you in the theater going, why is the Unbreakable theme song starting to play?
Right.
No.
Right.
No. And I refuse to believe it.
Comes.
I refuse to believe it. Then we go into this uber long news report about all the stuff we already know, because we just sat through 2 hours of this, and I'm like, end, you stupid news report.
And the camera panning through the crowd at the diner.
Yeah, at the diner. And then you had this lady. I have to say, this felt really forced, but the payoff to me was worth it. The lady sitting there, oh yeah, that weird story reminds me of how 15 years ago, there's that one guy in the wheelchair, and he did all those murders. What was his name? And they put him in jail. And then all of a sudden, there's Bruce Willis.
Yes.
They called him Mr. Glass.
There it is.
Split is a sequel to Unbreakable!
And if you haven't seen Unbreakable, now you have to watch Unbreakable.
You have to watch it, and Unbreakable was probably my second favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie next to Signs. I really love Signs, but Unbreakable was right there.
Right,
I
because
love
of
it.
real people, real superhero.
Yes! And so, through most of this movie where I felt things were unresolved, or, this is done well, and that's done well, but man, we didn't get to see how this was going to go or that was going to go, and then suddenly, this is a sequel to Unbreakable! And my whole opinion changed in one moment.
Right. Well, now they have to make a third.
They have to. And I think this movie's getting good reception from everything I've seen on YouTube and other people's reviews. So I'm hoping it makes money so the studio goes, yes, make the next one. Because I want to see Anna Joy Taylor's character get a full arc. I want to see Bruce Willis go up against James McAvoy.
Actually use his powers.
Yes. And I want to see Mr. Glass return.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
And you have to have the third because, well, if you've never seen Unbreakable, now that you know you have to watch Unbreakable, what it's going to do to this movie is it takes this movie to the next level.
Yeah.
Because now it's not the typical sci-fi thriller.
No.
Now it's there's a world full of real metahuman.
Yes.
If you want to use that word.
Yeah. Or borrowing from The Flash.
Right.
Yeah.
or there's real superheroes. There's real people with powers.
Yes.
And they're human beings.
And I love the way that M. Night Shyamalan did that with Unbreakable, because with Bruce Willis, I felt like there was nothing exaggerated. There was nothing over the top. He was just simply a guy who was really strong, like super strong, and could not be broken. And it was just...
And just wanted to live his life. Like, and, please don't recognize me. I just want to live.
But he had a sadness in his heart until he fulfilled his destiny in saving people. So... And then that interesting power of whoever he touched, he could see their sins, and so he would know whether or not it's worth stepping in this opportunity or not. So, like, things like that were... But it was so... It just felt like... I mean, we talk about Christopher Nolan's Batman being grounded and things like that, but the most grounded superhero thing I've ever seen was Unbreakable.
Right.
And so... Now, I think
he was your next door neighbor.
Oh, yeah. Knowing now this is part of a universe, and it's not just a standalone M. Night Shyamalan typical movie, that this movie belongs with Unbreakable, you're right, that adds a new dimension now. So no matter how one-dimensional it felt at one place or another in the movie, now when you get that reveal, it's like, oh, this doesn't belong by itself. This is part of a universe, and this is building to something else. And it just... I mean, in the drop of a hat, my entire opinion changed.
And it wouldn't surprise me if he made a third, and it completely reverted back, and somehow they weren't aliens in signs.
Yeah.
It was a person with mental powers.
or it wasn't trees and the happening that were causing people to commit suicide. It was some poison ivy-like lady or something.
So who knows?
Yeah, who
Maybe
knows?
all of his movies
Wouldn't
are
that be
one
interesting?
giant sequel.
We take the whole Shyamalan verse and bring it all together, which then means David Dunn is really whatever his character's name is in The Sixth Sense, and he's been dead this whole time. So what would your overall letter grade for this movie be? I gave it a B+ because in terms of M. Night Shyamalan films, I don't think it was as good as Sixth Sense, but it was way better than The Village and definitely on par with Unbreakable, and now even better since it's a part of the Unbreakable universe. So I gave it a B+, which means I want to see it again. A+ to a B+ is I want to see it again, I want to own it, all that stuff.
I would probably agree with a B+.
Okay.
It was a good movie. From the start of the movie all the way through, you're expecting certain nuances to happen, for sci-fi thrillers to happen, for people being abducted and being housed against their will and in basements, and then all of a sudden when you get the twist, it just now I have to watch the movie again with the twist.
Exactly.
Now looking for how they set that through the movie.
Well, I want to watch Unbreakable again. Then I want to go watch Split again and just see this.
Because it'll be a completely different movie.
Yeah, it will be. Wow. Well, if you saw Split, and I'm hoping you did if you're watching this spoiler talk, what did you think of this movie, and what did you think of that twist? How does that shed light on Unbreakable for you now? How does that shed light on this for you now? Let us know in the comments. While you're there, hit that subscribe button and become a Durbanian. Right by the subscribe button is that little bell. That's the little notification button. Hit that button so that way you're notified the moment I drop a video. Like and share this video. I'm Durbin.
I'm Nathan.
Thank you so much for checking out Durbania.
Etc.
Etc.